Soil is the heartbeat of every garden, yet many gardeners unknowingly grow on lifeless ground. You water, fertilize and weed, but the soil itself struggles to hold nutrients or retain moisture. That is where biochar comes in. Not as a trendy idea, but as one of the oldest, most powerful secrets for building soil health. Ancient civilizations used it centuries ago, and today it's making a comeback because it can completely transform the way your garden produces food. If you have been wondering how to revive poor soil, cut down on chemical inputs and grow healthier, more resilient crops, then biochar is the missing piece you need. Biochar is a stable form of carbon created when organic material such as wood, crop residue or husks is burned in a low-oxygen environment. Unlike ash, which is nutrient-poor and washes away easily, biochar is porous and long-lasting, staying in the soil for hundreds of years. Its sponge-like structure makes it excellent at holding nutrients and water, while also creating the perfect habitat for beneficial microbes. Think of biochar as a soil bank. Every time you add nutrients, instead of losing them to leaching, biochar locks them in and slowly releases them to your crops when needed. Fertilizer feeds plants for a short time, but biochar feeds the soil for a lifetime. When you apply biochar correctly, it increases soil fertility naturally, reduces the need for repeated fertilizer applications, and prevents wastage. Because of its porous structure, biochar improves soil aeration, making it easier for roots to penetrate deep. At the same time, it buffers soil pH, helping both acidic and alkaline soils find a balance. Over time, your garden becomes less dependent on external inputs, saving you money while producing crops that are healthier, tastier, and more nutrient-dense. You know, healthy soil is alive, and its strength really depends on microbial communities. Biochar provides a permanent shelter for these microbes, protecting them from drought, excessive heat, or even heavy rains. Once you inoculate biochar with compost, manure or microbial teas, it acts as a five-star hotel for bacteria, fungi and earth-friendly organisms that help break down organic matter into nutrients. These microbes also strengthen plant roots against diseases and pests, making your crops more resilient without relying on chemical sprays. Producing biochar at home can be simple, but it does require the right process to make sure you are not just creating ash. The key is pyrolysis, burning biomass in low oxygen. This can be done in a pit, a drum, or a specially designed biochar kiln. So first, you want to collect dry materials like small branches, corn cobs, rice husks, or crop residues. Then you light the fire, but make sure you restrict oxygen so the materials char instead of turning to ash. Once the biomass has turned black and brittle, you need to quench it immediately with water to stop any further burning. After that, crush the pieces into smaller particles to increase the surface area before using them. Now, raw biochar should never be applied directly to the soil because it can at first absorb nutrients and, well, starve your plants. Instead, it must be charged or activated. This is where you combine it with nutrient-rich materials so it enters the soil already loaded with life. One effective method is soaking crushed biochar in a mixture of animal manure and water for 2 weeks. For example, if you are preparing 10 kilograms of biochar, mix it with 10 kilograms of well-decomposed animal manure and 20 litres of water. Stir well and let it sit in a covered container. By the end of 2 weeks, you will have nutrient-charged biochar that is ready to revolutionize your soil. Another fast method is to soak biochar in liquid fertilizer or compost tea for 24 to 48 hours. For every 1 kilogram of biochar, use 2 litres of compost tea. This ensures the porous structure absorbs nutrients and beneficial microbes that will later spread throughout the soil. Once activated, biochar can be applied directly to the soil. The general guideline is to mix 2 to 5 kilograms of biochar per square metre of garden bed, depending on how poor your soil is. Work it into the top 15 to 20 centimetres of soil where roots will access it easily. If planting fruit trees, dig the planting hole and mix about 2 kilograms of charged biochar with the backfill soil before placing the seedling. For potted plants, mix 10 to 20% biochar into your potting mix to create lightweight, well-drained and nutrient-retentive soil. You know, the beauty of biochar is that it keeps working year after year. Unlike fertilizers that get used up, biochar remains in the soil permanently. With time, you'll notice your garden needs less watering because the soil just holds moisture longer. Crops will be stronger and less stressed by drought too. You'll also see improvements in yield and plant health, and all that without needing heavy fertilizer applications. In soils that have really degraded, biochar gradually rebuilds fertility, making land that was once considered unproductive vibrant again. Besides transforming your garden, biochar also contributes to a healthier planet. Since it locks carbon in the soil for hundreds of years, it prevents carbon dioxide from escaping into the atmosphere. This makes it a natural climate solution, reducing greenhouse gases while improving food security. Every time you use biochar, you're not only helping your garden but also contributing to a more sustainable environment. You know, some gardeners make the mistake of applying biochar raw, which can temporarily tie up nutrients and slow down plant growth. Others, well, they might apply it too heavily without mixing it well into the soil, and that can affect root access. Always remember, biochar works best when it's properly charged with nutrients and evenly distributed in the root zone. Moderation and preparation, those are really the keys to success. If you're serious about gardening, biochar is honestly a real game changer. It's not a quick fix, but more of a long-term investment in your soil's health. Whether you're growing vegetables, fruits or field crops, biochar helps ensure your soil becomes more fertile and resilient with each season. You know, for gardeners battling sandy soils that lose water quickly, or clay soils that suffocate roots, biochar offers the perfect solution by improving structure and balance. You know, biochar is more than just charred wood. It is a living tool that can completely transform how you garden. By creating it from waste materials, charging it with nutrients and applying it correctly, you can build soils that produce abundant harvests year after year. From reducing fertilizer costs to protecting the environment, its benefits are really just too powerful to ignore. Start small, observe the changes, and pretty soon you will realize why biochar is becoming one of the most trusted soil enhancers worldwide. If you found this guide helpful, do not keep it to yourself. Try biochar in your garden and watch the difference it makes. Then, come back and share your results with fellow growers. For more powerful tips that will keep your soil and crops thriving, make sure you subscribe to Growth Hub Central Crops and hit that share button so more gardeners can unlock the secret of biochar.